The Chicago Convention of 1944 laid the foundation of many principles of commercial aviation. Among others, the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and some freedoms of the air were established. These freedoms form the legal base for most international commercial air traffic to this day, so let's take a closer look at them. The first freedom of the air is the right to overfly a foreign country without landing. So an airline from country A that is granted this freedom by country B is allowed to fly commercial flights crossing the airspace of country B without landing. This freedom is important since Article 1 of the Chicago Convention states that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over airspace above its territory. The second freedom of the air is the right to land for non-traffic purposes. So an airline from country A can land in country B to refuel or for maintenance purposes, for example, if it is on a flight to another country. This freedom does not grant the right to transport passengers or cargo between the two countries, however. It is fairly uncommon for airlines to use technical stops nowadays, since increased range allows most routes to be operated non-stop. These first two rights are so-called transit rights that were established by the Chicago Convention, and they are known as the International Air Services Transit Agreement, and nowadays 129 countries signed the treaty. They are fairly universal, however there are some notable exceptions. The European Union's blacklist of airlines bans certain carriers from operating in EU airspace over safety concerns, for example. Moreover, countries are allowed to charge fees for their services and the overflight of their territory. The third freedom of the air is the privilege to transport commercial traffic from one's own country to another. So the airline from country A is granted the right to carry passengers and goods from their own country to country B. And the fourth freedom of the air is the exact opposite, the right to fly from another country to one's own. The fifth freedom of the air is the right to fly between two foreign countries on a flight originating or ending in one's own country. It grants the airline the privilege of also transporting commercial traffic between the two foreign countries without intention of ever continuing to the airline's home country. So an airline from country A, on a flight originating from their own country, via country B to country C, can also sell tickets to transport passengers between country B and C. Only these 5 freedoms are officially recognized by ICAO, because these are part of an international treaty, the 5 Freedoms Agreement. However, the following are still freedoms granted to some airlines by some countries, so ICAO refers to them as so-called freedoms. The sixth freedom of the air is the right to fly from a foreign country to another foreign country, while stopping in one's own country for non-technical reasons. So an airline from country B operating a flight from country A to country C with a stop in their home country. There's also the modified sixth freedom, which is almost the same, however it would be an airline flying from country A to another part of country A with a stop in their home country. The seventh freedom is the right to fly between two foreign countries. So an airline from country A that was granted this right is allowed to fly passengers and cargo between country B and country C. The eighth freedom of the air is the right to fly inside a foreign country on a flight that commences or terminates in one's own country. So an airline from country A is flying a flight from their own country to an airport in country B and then continuing onwards to another airport in country B. This freedom grants them the privilege to also transport traffic commercially between the two foreign airports. It is also known as consecutive cabotage. The ninth and final freedom is the right to fly commercially scheduled flights within a foreign country. So an airline from country A flying a flight domestically in country B. This is also known as standalone cabotage. It's important to note that while some of the freedoms are fairly universal, others are very rare and only really granted in single aviation markets like within the EU. Ryanair or Wizz Air would be well-known examples for using the 7th and 9th freedoms on a regular basis within the European Union.